Each evening, I think one needs something to send oneself to bed comfortably, and I seem to have plumped for a sort of Vance moment. As the sun goes down, Vance memes pop up, and this cosmic alignment of bone structure, smugness, and sheer mimetic destiny has ascended to the status of Backpfeifengeschicht, an eminently slappable face, apparently, according to the Guardian. And that face belongs to the U.S. Vice President, JD Vance. Once upon a time, Vance was a compelling narrative in a checked shirt, a rust belt boy made good, the intellectual emissary of Trumpian populism, the author of Hillbilly Elegy, and the Yale educated Republican who promised to be an outsider. But now Vance has evolved, or perhaps devolved, into a political entity that exists as much in memes as in reality. He is in many ways the human equivalent of an aggressively marketed meerkat, a creature whose public image is so contorted by exaggeration that the real thing becomes almost unrecognizable. Vance could be marketed in the what is the Cineworld, the fading Cineworld chain as an alternative to the meerkats. Consider the following thought experiment. You wish to summon a mental picture of J.D. Vance. I, some people wish. Do you conjure an earnest, somewhat bland Midwestern man, or do you, like the vast majority of internet dwellers, first picture a grotesquely distorted meme, an absurd parody of a face, perhaps a sentient potato with an eyebrow issue, a grotesquely grinning Funko Pop, or an anthropomorphic gerbil with a conspiratorial glint in its beady eye, wrestling against the hemorrhoids? If your answer leans towards the latter, congratulations. You've become part of a great cultural forgetting. The actual Vance is buried beneath layers of internet nonsense somewhere between AI generated nightmares and photos of Taylor Swift being accused of selling powdered sugar to toddlers. His transformation from best selling author to vice president to meme has been propelled by his own actions. He only has himself to blame for this. Consider his tour de force of diplomatic finesse, a press conference with the Ukrainian President Zelensky, in which Vance demanded that Zelensky show gratitude to the United States, and in doing so, he managed the impressive feat of making Trump look statesmanlike. In Ukraine, this encounter bizarrely has bolstered Zelensky's approval ratings. The Kyiv International Institute of Sociology has reported a 10-point increase in public confidence in Zelensky following the meeting, which suggests that Vance is not merely an irritant to his critics, he's an active boon to anyone who opposes him. And this isn't an isolated event. Vance's very presence in a room appears to magnetize farce. His skiing holiday in Vermont, for instance, was briefly interrupted by a protest, leading to an online exchange so petty it belongs in suburban Facebook group sessions. The sheer commitment of a sitting vice president engaging in digital squabbles with pseudonymous accounts like Jeff Computers illustrates the power of Vance's own memeification. He's not merely a subject of mockery, he's a willing participant, a one-man government troll-feeding program. I mean, if he wants to feed the trolls, he could come and talk to some of the people who leave comments on my YouTube discussions. And yet, despite, or perhaps because of its metamorphosis, his metamorphosis into a walking absurdity, Vance is a credible contender for the presidency. It's sort of madness, unlike Mike Pence, who spent 4 years oscillating between obsequious loyalty and belated rebellion. Vance is a fully committed attack dog for Trump's America First agendum. His aggressive rhetoric on Ukraine, on NATO, an American institution makes him makes him into a true believer in the hard right populism that now dominates the GOP. His early career criticisms of Trump, once dismissed as a youthful indiscretion, have now been erased in favor of unwavering sycophancy. His politics, however, are more interventionist than his persona might suggest. While he rails against the excess of globalization, he eagerly backs state interference in the economy, whether through trade restrictions, antitrust crackdowns, or intervention in social media regulation. His so-called populism has an elitist edge. He bemoans the out-of-touch ruling class while simultaneously operating as a Yale-educated political insider. This, of course, makes him the perfect heir to Trump, an anti-elitist elite, a self-proclaimed outsider who's very much within. And so Vance lumbers forward, a bizarrely marketable political figure who exists somewhere between seriousness and absurdity, policy and parody. You could imagine for Christmas getting a Vance toy with a little string, you pull it and it squeaks. Perhaps he's best understood not as a person, but as a concept. The first American political leader to be truly more meme than man. And perhaps this is the future of politics, not statesmanship, but a game of digital image distortion, roadblocks, with Vance, where the presidency is less about governance and more about who can dominate the algorithm. In the meantime, while Vance ascends the ranks, he becomes more ranker than anyone else. The Catholic ranker. The UK faces a different crisis. If he doesn't succeed to the presidency, he could always go off and campaign to replace Pope Francis. The collapse of Cineworld. I think that's really where he belongs. An institution battered by streaming services and the simple fact that fewer people wish to pay 15 quid to sit next to a man noisily eating chips, noisily eating crisps in the dark. Cineworld is now desperate, is in desperate need of reinvention. Enter the gerbils. All with the same name, Vance. Advance. As the nation's collective enthusiasm for overpriced popcorn wanes, it's time to turn to the rodent overlord, a mass storming of the failing cinema chain led by the well-trained battalion of a single man, the man who is a gerbil. It might be the very best act of disruption needed to jolt the industry back into life. Could we market the gerbils as the new meerkats? Would Vance approve? Would Vance be excited? Would this be more meme than meme? These are the questions for this time. Vance, the man who's going to save Cineworld. We stand on the precipice of a new political and cultural era, one in which JD Vance, meme and serious political contender, and one of the many gerbils that's going to save British cinema, to say to those who say we live in absurd times, we can say, yes, we live in the times of Vance. Not JD Vance, Vance. This is absurdity made real. Advance, the hirsute wine of gratitude. You're not going, Mr. Vance, always gracious, always thankful simply for the attention that we're all giving him. Mr. Vance, Vice President, Gerbil Supreme. Advance, and do your thing.